Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Another beautiful day in paradise. I know I normally usually do the show in the car, if you guys are familiar, but today I decided I'm gonna do a little cash, because I wanted to do it yesterday, but I couldn't do it. A little busy, but today I'm available. So let's get to it. So I recently watched this little conversation, and Jon Stewart had really brought something to my attention. Let's watch.
Well, I had a thing, we're trying to do this thing for veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan who've gotten sick from burn pits. Are you familiar at all with burn pits?
No, what is it?
So in the Iraq War and the Afghanistan War, this will go back generations, but in Iraq and Afghanistan, a lot of the hired contractors to dispose of the detritus of war, they would build these sometimes 10-acre, 20-acre pits. Everything would go into them, from mess waste to hazardous materials to computers to everything. They light it with jet fuel and they burn. So now you got guys that are downrange that are also down. I mean, they're basically camping out in a toxic waste dump, right? And it's an air incinerator. So they come home and you're starting to see pulmonary issues, cancer issues. These guys they're dying.
Yeah.
And they have to advocate against the government. So we're trying to put together, working with this team coalition, wounded warrior groups and people, VSOs and groups like that, to address this legislatively, similar to what was done for the 9/11 community, right? So I thought, because it's always about money. We always have money for war, but we almost never have money to pay for what are the absolutely could have seen coming a mile away consequences of what our veterans face when they come back, right? We don't take care. When they're out of sight, they're out of mind. And so my idea was, you have all these profiteers, Raytheon, Halliburton, all these groups, make them kick in 10% big, a contingency in war, so that when these guys go home and the government backs away, there is money there to take care of what is the natural damage that's done to these people in the name of fighting for our country. So that they don't, and their families, these people have to become their own lawyers. They have to go in front of medical boards, and they have no support. Their families are oftentimes caring for them, whether they have health issues or traumatic brain injury or other kinds of invisible wounds, and they're kind of hung out to dry.
Yes, not kinda, very much so.
Okay, so what to say about this? I agree with him 100%. You gotta think about it, guys. When people go to war, they deal with a lot. They deal with a lot. They deal with something mentally, they deal with something physically, they lose something, they lose a loved one. People lose loved ones. There's a tragedy to happen. It's a travesty. And if I'm being frank, the war in Iraq and the war in Afghanistan is still questionable wars, whether or not we needed them. And I even have an episode I'm going to put out soon about that, which is in the examine room. But this particular issue, I believe, makes sense. If you're going to put them to war, you're going to sacrifice these people, you should give them something, compensate them for their loss, for their whatever they're dealing with. Even if it's a family member that lost someone in war, there should be someone to compensate them. It shouldn't just be like, oh, they don't have anything for them. This makes sense. I don't know why it hasn't been taken care of already. Veterans should have been taken care of since the beginning, since Vietnam, since World War II, since World War I. We've been going through battle since Afghan war, Iraq war. We're thinking about going to some Iran war. There's just so many things we've been going to. So I just feel like it makes sense that we try to support them. And the fact that these soldiers, these veterans, were getting sick based on just being around their own toxic waste, that's just messed up. They get cancer or anything, that's just messed up. And yet we haven't even compensated them for this type of stuff. Jon Stewart brings a valid point. These things need to be addressed. And the fact that he's advocating to address them is really great. If you watch the interview, he's like, I was doing this reporting and trying to try to do comedy with it. And I realized after a while, it just didn't feel like I was doing anything. And then he just felt like he needed to do something about it. And that's why he started doing this this initiative, or working with this coalition. And I got to give Jon Stewart credit for that. I mean, the fact that he, he decided, like, instead of just like, I'm going to retire and just settle in my nice house, I got money, I'm okay, I'm doing fine. He was like, no, you know what? No, I'm going to go make a difference. Not a lot of people could say that. And especially for veterans, they go through a lot. They go through battle. They try to fight for our rights and our freedom. I don't think it has been justifiable for the past couple decades now, but I will say that for the veterans' sake, they did it because they believed they're doing it for the right reasons. So I'll give them credit where credit is due. And these things need to be addressed. And I'm glad that Jon Stewart is bringing it up, because not a lot of people are really showing a lot of support for veterans. I don't know what it's like to be a soldier. I've never been to war. I've never gone to combat. So I can't personally tell you what it feels like. But I can tell you personally that I think I can imagine it being so difficult that it's hard to come back from it. So I can imagine, and that's why the compensation is so unnecessary. I don't see the argument being anything else but that. Like, I don't know why it's been taking so long for the government to do anything. I feel like the two parties that we have, the major parties we have now, they're doing a show, like I said, like a professional wrestling performance for us, acting like they're really going to contribute. Like the Democrats are acting like, oh, we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done. They're all talk. They're not action. They're all talk. There's some people in there who are trying, but there's still more, the vast majority of them, who are still corrupt. So they're gonna say, yeah, we're gonna do everything, and then they do little pepper of incremental change, and then they act like they're war heroes and stuff. But the major things we haven't been taken care of in lifetime yet, or haven't even done: minimum wage, healthcare, college tuition, none of that stuff. We haven't done any of that, but we have enough money to go into war, into debt. Okay, that makes practical amount of sense. And then you got the Republicans, who just literally point the fingers practically to anybody: immigrants, black people, guns, terrorists. Everything is just a pointing the finger. There's never really any kind of like substance that really makes like, oh, I want every American to get equal pay. I want every American to have a college tuition for free. Yeah, why not? Why? That makes sense. Healthcare, yeah, why not? Everybody deserves it. Oh, I need to contribute? Yeah, I mean, they pay for my salary, right? They pay for my taxes. They pay for my pension, everything. When I retire, they pay for everything. So why wouldn't I do well for my constituents? Why wouldn't I do well for my people, for my state? Makes a practical amount of sense, but no, not Republicans, no Democrats do that at all. They just act like they're trying, but really, they're only trying if the people who are influencing them are telling them to. Let's get real, guys. If you're going to contribute, let's go into a hypothetical for a moment, okay? Let's say you have a friend who wants to do a movie, okay? And you say, okay, I'm going to contribute money into your movie, okay? At any point in that conversation, are you going to tell this person, you can have that money because I'm only just contributing because I just want to see your vision come to life. This movie's so good that I don't want anything out of it but just the fact that it's going to be made. That's the argument that's being made right now. Politics, I mean, if you heard, what's his name? Forget his name. Buttigieg, there you go. If you heard Buttigieg during the campaign, he says, oh, if people contribute money to you, it doesn't mean that you're influenced. That doesn't make any sense. How dare you, sir? It doesn't, what? You contribute money, you're expecting profit back. You're expecting something in return. That's kind of the point. It doesn't make any sense that it'd be anything else. Like, oh, they would just give you money because they're big and rich and they just want to contribute to your cause. No. No. So yeah, I want to say that this whole idea that if you contribute to a campaign, it doesn't mean that you're going to be influenced by that money. Of course you're going to get influenced by that money. That's ridiculous. It's money that they gave you. I mean, no one is generous in this world. If that's how capitalism works, where the heck's my money? Where's the second stimulus package? How is it we were able to bail out the big money? With all the trillions of dollars, we got one stimulus check. One. We couldn't even get monthly People are like, oh, it's like this is a Stockholm syndrome situation, you know? But just the fact that we're wanting to go back to work, and these people who are wealthy, the only reason why they want us to go back to work is that way their money keeps getting made. Okay, even though we haven't been taken care of at all in decades. Okay, look, everybody, let's get real here. Stop thinking about the negative outcomes of all this stuff, because you always keep thinking, like, everybody keeps saying, how are we gonna pay that? How do we pay for war? How do we earn debt to that, but we can't say, oh, let's get into debt for Medicare and like 2 times, okay? 2008 and now we've had to bail these freaking big corporations out, okay? And what's gonna happen to the American people, the average Joe? We're gonna pay with our lives. We're gonna suffer for it. We're suffering now, even as we're dealing with this COVID-19, even with this George Floyd. We're dealing with so much right now that we need to start coming together and getting real. Stop thinking about the fat person who stays home or the person who doesn't work or any of that. Stop thinking about it. Think about the regular person, the majority of the people who go to work every day doing the job. Going to work, paying the bills, trying to survive, working 2 jobs, taking care of families, taking care of their own families, taking care of friends, taking care of people from another country, taking care of people across the world. You need to think about everyone. Stop being so selfish and being greedy in that way. They're greedy. Don't be greedy. We can be generous, all of us. That's the truth, people.